Chat with Mr. Navi and Ramesh Venkatraman. It's all about DGPSI making PTPTBA compliance simpler.
Very good evening, everyone. And I know after the last session, can I have, hello? Yeah. After the last sessions, right, I do not know whether you guys are scared or you are in a confused stage, right? Especially where is Professor Avinash? Wow, straight, right, that answers. But still, I would like to start with, for all your concerns, if you have any clarifications, if you have any anxiety on whatever we discussed since yesterday, be with me. This is the material I'm talking about. Book by Mr. Navi, DGPSI. We are going to discuss more and more, probably next to 20 minutes. Now, that idea is that why this book and what is this framework is all about, how it's going to help you and me is the point here. I will not take much time that it's talking about digital governance and protection, right? It's talking about both protection as well as governance. Discussing about, little bit alarming, right? What will I do? Right. So many laws. Do I need to track what's happening across globe, right? Interesting data. 140 out of 194 countries, they have either enacted the law or in the process of enacting the law. So if you are going to be in that region, right, obviously you are bound to, because that law is not something like optional like ISOs, right? It is an obligation, it is mandatory. Otherwise, the last session, they talked about two important bullets. One is liability. Second is your reputational image, right? Liability, of course, it's being handled by different perspectives like cyber insurance too, etc. But what about your reputational image? So we need to be very careful about. 65% of the world population already got covered by privacy law. Interesting part, right? And I'll go to the first bullet. What we need to really worry about, three important bullets: collecting the data, using the data, and disclosing or sharing the data. That's all. You look at your PDPA Singapore, which I started with, it talks about collection, use, and disclosure, CUD, what we call. So you look at what Mr. Rajiv talked about. He set the tone in the morning, 29-100, the 11 privacy principles, right? You look at, I am sure I can vouch for it, even though I have not gone through all the 140, probably 20 plus laws we had gone through, right? It covers all the 11 privacy principles. Quite interestingly, 71% of the countries with the legislation already in place, 9 countries with the draft legislation, 15 countries with no legislation. We need not worry about it. 5 countries we do not have the data. India? Sorry? Oh God, sir, 11th August, sir, you and me will be going to jail then. 11th August, it's already there, right, legislation. No, guidelines has not come. President has given their, yes. No. Yeah, absolutely. That's anything. 11th August. No, sir is pulling my leg. He knows. Now look at. We also talked about in different contexts since yesterday, right? There is no problem with respect to the laws or regulations across with respect to privacy. Morning onwards, we are talking about sectoral guidelines, right? HIPAA to GLBA to etc. Earlier, only concentrating on security. Of course, HIPAA. 1996, somebody was talking about, right? It talks about both the security rule as well as the privacy rule. Very stringent, very strong. It's not that after that 18th May of 2018, we are talking about implementing the privacy because of GDPR. No, right? There are lots and lots of strong rules available. Not only these privacy laws we are talking about, other criminal laws, right? Even PDPA Germany, which is nothing but the GDPR of Germany, right? UK GDPR like, and Arabian countries not lagging behind. They have their very stringent law starting with Dubai to Muscat to etc. Right? Not even our Pakistan and Sri Lanka not spared. Even they do have. So you and me need to be very careful about it. Now I wanted to really bring your attention to this DGPSI, right? Not about these 140 laws. Now we have a strong ISO 27701 which talks about the privacy information management system, right? But the point here is that it is sitting on 27001. So if I had to go for 27701, I obviously need to implement 27001. That's the problem. And the latest one, Bureau of Indian Standards, right? Adequacy of organizational data governance and management practices. Beautifully, it comes out with 7 practice groups, which really talks about both governance and data management. And we have different frameworks. Even the previous session, I think he talked about NIST framework and EU Government Act, right? There is no problem. Special publications with respect to cybersecurity, privacy from NIST existing. We had talked about HIPAA, right, which is a sectoral guideline. Now, how to, HIPAA is a self-compliance, right? You don't have a formal certification process per se. So where I'm going to go by implementing high trust, let's say, probably I'll be having the kind of confidence to assure myself, right? Otherwise, it's a self-compliance. Now, question is, if high trust is for HIPAA, to ensure that I'm adhering to HIPAA, what about my DPDPA? Who is going to help you and me to implement it? That is the point here I wanted to raise it. Do we have any kind of standard framework, right? 140 countries we talked about. Be with me, guys, right? This is exactly I wanted to say. For you and me, the solution is DGPSI, the framework, which really going to help you and me from the threat of, 4% of annual turnover or 20 million euros, right? From the GDPR perspective, each and every country has got its own liability penalty clause. So now, interestingly, as I said even yesterday, this is the slide, without the slide I was talking about yesterday, we have almost 36 requirements from the DPDPA compliance, right? Tomorrow you have to implement it in an organization. Very quickly, I just wanted to show you here. What do you mean by that? We have decoded the buyer. Can I click here? Yeah. Look at it. I'm just showing you, not 36 to bore you. The entire law of DPDPA, we have put it here. So you need to have, let's say, first of all, identifying the applicability. You need to identify the purpose in which you are talking about. You need to have a privacy notice, which talks about 22 languages, etc. So like this, if I start looking at all the chapter-wise requirements, there are totally around 36 requirements as part of my DPDPA. Now, how am I going to? Will this 27,001 would be helpful to me? Answer is no. Even though the 27,001 2022 standard talks about privacy, but it will not be adequately addressing your DPDPA. What about me with respect to 27701 with another additional 49 controls we are talking about? Will it help me? No, right? Because 27701 is focusing on GDPR requirement, not on India requirement. And what about my ITA 2000 or 2008, where we have 33 requirements, right? Because many of the provisions of even the current DPDPA is invoking the ITA rules. Now, if I move on to my BIS, Bureau of Indian Standards, I talked about the data governance. There is a kind of risk management we are talking about here, right? Here it is, the practice group beautifully addresses with respect to identify, assess, prioritize, and manage the risks related to data on security, privacy, compliance, what we are talking about, our theme, right? But really, is it addressing my concern? Answer is no, and hence I would say strongly DGPSI with 50 implementation specifications would be the key for you and me, really to implement all these things, right? Now, DGPSI also is going to help you to establish something called data trust code. As you know that many of the laws, in fact, the current law does not talk about DTS, but still we are retaining it because it's going to really help you to assess the maturity of your organization from the compliance perspective, right? Very difficult if you really wanted to, because audit we understand, right? It's a binary. Either I have met the requirement or I have not met the requirement, fair enough. But what about where I stand, right? What is my gaps with respect to some kind of quantitative? That's where that assessment is going to help you and me. So this DGPSI, the standard which is available to everyone. We have detailed training to the implementers. It's also going to helpful for the internal auditors as well as the lead auditors. Lead auditors is the key because we have a provision in our DPDPA that we need to perform the data audit annually for the significant data fiduciary. So it's a new topic per se, how to do a data audit. We were all very familiar with the different types of audits, and hence this would help you. And then the framework is going to help you and me with respect to the compliances. So we talked about this, just to go further quickly. What is DGPSI? It encompasses the best principles of global frameworks, including GDPR. Be with me, right? We have done a detailed mapping so you can be confident of, and it's going to help you on needs of the data protection of the organizations in India and meant for multiple data protection laws and compliance, right? Otherwise, it's a big problem for the organization. Just to show you that we have kind of mapping done with respect to our 50 implementation specifications on multiple, starting with PDPA Singapore to GDPR to CPRA of California, right? And I would say that it beautifully focusing on the leadership, right, with respect to their management involvement, and it defines the scope of the implementation nicely with the applicable laws. So typically, you identify the data, you do the data inventory, data asset, data classification, data mapping, right, where it exists, and identify the applicable laws, right? In the previous session, they talked about. In GDPR, we are talking about 18 as the children, and some of the European Union member countries talking about even 13. India, same thing, 18 plus. Some of the notifications might give some kind of privilege to the social media teams. It encompasses the principle of security by design, privacy by design concept, same thing. And data trust core, I already talked about, it's going to help you and me define the implementation charter signed by none other than your board or the top management, and hence we are going to have a commitment from them. This is the interesting aspect. And the implementation specifications beautifully being grouped under 5 different categories, starting with management, data protection office, legal department, legal, mainly in terms of reviewing the contracts, it's going to be the key. And HR practices, right? Your background verification to vendor assessment, etc., whatnot, and technology perspective 20. Now, this is where I would say that your headache of implementing 27001, 27701, plus, etc., is going to be really taken away by implementing the 50 model implementation specifications of DGPSI. Let me stop here, and I would request Mr. Navi to walk us through the basic principles on which this DGPA has been built on. Then we will have more and more clarity how it's really helping you and me. Yes, sir, please. Yes, I have.
See, the law is here, so all of us need to find a way to be compliant with it. There is no discussion on should we be compliant, should we not be compliant. Law can improve over a period of time, but what is there now has to be complied with. And another aspect I keep telling again and again is we don't have to wait for the rules, because this law is a due diligence under Information Technology Act 2000. So Information Technology Act 2000 is applicable as of today, and this has come as one more guidance under Information Technology Act. Somebody was asking about penalties. Information Technology Act has got penalties, which can be applied to a data breach of personal data. So Data Protection Board has not been given the responsibility to fix the liabilities related to the criminal aspects. But ITA 2000 is still there. So any breach which qualifies for Section 43 of Information Technology Act, 43 of Information Technology Act is very generic. If any reduction in the value of information residing inside a computer, reduction in the value of information, that qualifies for a Section 43 violation, which is linked to Section 66, which is a criminal. Section 66, which is a criminal offense. Therefore, every personal data breach which you can think of under DPB will have Section 66, 3 years imprisonment, cognizable offense. So, don't think the law is very, forgetful. It is there coming from a different side. But this particular law, they have kept it so that it is only civil aspect. So DPB, they have said that you can't be a criminal court anyway. DPB cannot determine the criminality of this thing. Even to evaluate the compensation, they felt that it should not be responsible. So they have left it, that's all. Okay. So that is why I say this is already applicable as of today. So we need to find a solution. Okay. Now, what FDPP wanted to do was that we will not simply say that, okay, there is a law, there is something, you will have a problem. We have to give some guidance, whether it is a 100% perfect solution or less than that. Somebody has to take a step. That we have done. So this DGPSI is a framework for implementation, for certified audit, and assessment of maturity. All the three things. Why all the three things? Why can't there be one audit for this, one audit for this, one audit for this? Then you are only taking the companies into ride, okay? Give them 101 things, okay? It is not our intention to have three different certifications, make money in all the three kind of a thing. We have to simplify the compliance. Compliance without pain is what I feel is essential. If you make compliance too difficult, then people will find a way not to be compliant. They will find it easy to bribe the administration to escape the responsibility. They will not take efforts. So compliance has to be, to the extent possible, reasonable. And the victim should feel it is reasonable. See, today many times in law, you feel the victim feels that it is exploitation. Okay, so when 1.2 million US dollars fine is imposed for your say privacy policy not being transparent, no data breach. Okay, GDPR is threatening. Okay, the latest Amazon this thing, no data breach. But why are you having a HR policy like this? I am like a labor commissioner. I am saying that the welfare of the people have to be taken care of. GDPR authorities sometimes forget that they are data protection compliance people, not labor compliance people or employee welfare companies, law keepers. Anyway, so I personally feel that we need to find solutions. We have tried to do that. Now, just very quickly, I will go through these principles which have gone into this framing of this DGPSI. First principle is, process is the focus. See, when we talk of data fiduciary or a data processor, it is not that entire company which is a data fiduciary. In a particular process, they are a data fiduciary. In the next process, they may be a data processor. Okay, so process-wise, purpose, you collect information, personal information for a purpose. That purpose is linked to a particular process. I may have multiple purposes and I may ask you information, but I will ask 3 elements of your personal information for purpose 1, another 2 for purpose 2. So process owner of the first one, he needs to know only 3 elements. He need not know all the 5 elements. You cannot have one single database in which 5 elements are there and it is available to both the process owner 1 as well as process owner 2. It is not necessary. When you apply need to know basis, you have to say only 3 elements are required. You are a logistics company, you want to deliver a parcel, you need only the address. Okay. In another finance company wants the financial information, credit card information. So process 1 will have only address. Process 2, he will have credit card information. So process-wise, you will have to bifurcate the whole corporate business, and a company is going to be an aggregation of processes. And for each process, a purpose has to be there, and there you work on the minimization principle and all other principles. This is one of the principles which we feel is very essential. The role of the organization is also process specific. The purpose also is that data minimization, data retention, everything is process oriented. And it may be different. This is I don't know, most of you have experience in implementing GDPR and other things. I don't know whether you use a similar thing. We say, this company is a data fiduciary. Somehow I am not convinced that company is a data fiduciary. Okay, when you say significant data fiduciary, company is a significant data fiduciary only because one process out of 20 processes which they are having may have, let us say, a sensitive nature. Then in HIPAA, we have got this hybrid entity concept. Likewise, I want to say this process is a significant data fiduciary, not necessarily the rest of the things. If we adopt that approach, then it will be simplified. That is, the whole process will get simplified. And that is the concept which has been used in HIPAA. to allow for hybrid entities. That is, if you have a business, part of which is PHI, part of which is not PHI, HIPAA implementation is required only for the PHI division, provided you have arm's length relationship between the two. Okay. Similar principle here, if one process is a significant data fiduciary process, rest of it is not, I want that we should be able to say, you put all your extra efforts only on this process. That is the key as far as that. Second one is classification. When we talk of classification, one of the things, earlier we used to say whether data is sensitive, not sensitive. Here there are other things also. For example, jurisdiction, that is the first thing. Data should first be bifurcated, whether it is GDPR data, whether it is DPDPA data. And put it differently in different buckets, apply DPDPA on one set, apply GDPR on another set. So if you classify the personal data based on the applicable jurisdiction, you have segregated your requirements into multiple 140 or whatever is the countries. You will not be applying GDPR on Indian data and Indian this thing on GDPR data. If you do that, there will be a problem. Like examples of this minors data and other things. Nomination is required for Indian data. If you don't do it in if you consider it as GDPR, you will not provide for nomination. So you need to actually segregate the data. That is why classification of data, first of all, personal data and non-personal data. Okay. Then within personal data, you may have to look at Indian data, etc. Okay, that is based on the applicability of various things. Then employee data and non-employee data you need to do, because there's a lot of difference between different laws. For example, Indian Data Protection Act uses legitimate use basis for the employee data. GDPR is very, very stringent. They think employee data has to be considered as par with the public. So there could be differences. So bifurcate minor and adult. In India, like minor, any individual for whom a legal guardian has been appointed, he is considered more or less similar to the minor. Okay, so that data set will have to be classified. So classification system needs to change. See, presently, most of your classification system is based on ISO requirement, security basis. Here, it is not security basis. It is a type of data for which a particular legal obligation is there. If that is requiring encryption, you will put encryption. If that requires anonymization, do it. So classification has to be looked at differently. So this is another key. Hybrid entity concept, we are not talking of an organization as one. We are trying to say that it is an aggregation of multiple kind of, say, fiduciaries. Okay. So even sensitive processing will come within that. Distributed responsibility is another very important aspect which we have incorporated here. What we mean is every employee of an organization is a DPO within his area of operation. Why should a DPO sitting somewhere else should be responsible for one employee who is taking his laptop and going to Goa, and from there he is doing a remote this thing? How can a DPO control that? It is not possible. So what is impossible has to be recognized. So we say that every employee has got a data domain. In that data domain, he is responsible. Okay. When it comes to the external authorities, the courts or DPP, there is a representative DPO. But internally, every employee should be able to take on this responsibility. And that is one of the principles. How do you implement it? Of course, is there a plan you have to roll out. Okay. Then data has a monetary value, which we have discussed yesterday also. This is a concept which has to get into the mind of the whole organization. We are not dealing with inanimate object. There is a monetary value. Whatever its implications, we'll have to look at. We have also discussed the process. That data valuation standard of India is an attempt. I am not saying that all these are perfect solutions as of today. We want the industry to start debating on this. If you have got to modify any of these things, we are open to look at it. But at least we are thinking of that. measurability like this data trust score is also considered as an important requirement. See, unless you know where you stand, I feel you will not have a proper. Why do you need a speedometer in the car? You know how that you are under control or not under control, but still the speedometer has got its own value. So measurability means that your compliance measures some kind of a credit scoring like thing is there, like a CRISIL or something like that. 20 years back, there was no credit score for debentures and anything like that. Okay, then this CRISIL came and then ICRA came. Now it has become a standard feature which determines so many things. Likewise, this data trust score represents the quantitative estimate of the maturity of implementation. So if you say 35% is the passing marks, some student has got 50, some student has got 70. Should we not do that? Otherwise, we will be only going for pass and fail. Only 2 grades are required. We feel that this is required. This is also helpful for management. You can have a dashboard, and from the dashboard, you can monitor that. Critics of the company are whistleblowers. So why I say this, many times we are coming to some HR policy issues also. So whistleblower system is normally limited to our employees. Okay, we want it to be extended even to public. Your bug bounty program is also a kind of a whistleblowing. So I feel that every company which actually exposes a software to the public should have a bug bounty program. So if you don't have it, what we may say in our evaluation is, okay, you will get 1 point lower. Okay, I'm not saying that you will be non-compliant and you will be thrown off kind of a thing. In DTS, it will get this thing. So I'm just saying these are some of the new concepts. Top management responsibility is important. I want the top management to sign off an implementation charter. Don't leave everything to the DPO. DPO is all said and done, is an employee. Okay, board has to take the responsibility for compliance or even absorbing the risk. In certain cases, they may say, you come up with a risk assessment, 10 points to be there. I am the CEO, board promoter. I will say, I will not have this 2 or 3. I will absorb that risk. When it comes, I will do it. Doesn't matter. But don't make DPO responsible for that. Okay, just convince the DPO, no, we don't have money, we will not do this. And leave all the responsibilities to the DPO. Tomorrow, if there is a legal issue, you dump him. That is not correct. So we need to have this responsibility put in place. Business level implementation, what we mean to say is, the marketing manager who goes and signs a business, he should think of data protection requirements when he is signing the business contract. He cannot say, I have already signed a contract, you find a being compliant. Or he will come back and tell the CFO, I have already agreed. Now CFO says, no, these people will want another 1% extra. He said, no, I have already agreed. No, that should not happen. So it is in a business level itself, DPO should be integrated into the decision making. So our framework will ask that question. See, everywhere we can only ask questions. Ultimately, company has to decide, I don't have this. But we want to draw their attention to this. When we ask a question, are you valuing your data? He may say, no, I am not valuing your data. But at least that will be in the back of your mind. Okay. And that extends to buying of hardware, software, background check, all those things. Okay. Documentation, of course, has to be there. And then security. Under security, we are talking of personal data. All your concepts of ISO, we are trying to put in this. Okay. We are not saying that ISO is not applicable here. ISO 27001, to the extent of personal data, you can still use that this thing. Basically, what do we want? Data access management. Need to know basis. If you, that one single principle covers encryption, covers identity management, everything. Okay. If you want, you can create 93 controls out of that one, or you can have 10 controls out of that. So we have tried to say that all security requirements of CIA principle will be taken into account. Last but not the least is, how do you motivate your employees? When I say distributed responsibility, your HR manager will come and say, no, I was a code developer. How can you make me a security person? Okay, it becomes a HR issue. But from now onwards, people will have to change. You are talking of security by design. Your coding person should know security, otherwise how will he design that? So we are saying that you may be designated as a software developer, but in that context you are the DPO. Because I cannot go into your code. The DPO cannot be somebody who will audit the code. You might have put some backdoor somewhere there, and tomorrow when you leave this organization and go somewhere else, you may disable this particular thing. You know, these things have happened. Now, at that time, you cannot say, you never told me that security is also part of my job. So that is why motivating the people for accepting this responsibility and then carrying it out is very important. Nothing will work if people don't cooperate. We all know that. Okay, you can have all these controls. So these are the principles under which GPSI has been developed. You have, in one light module, we have got 36 what we call as model implementation specifications. That directly addresses the DPDPA. If you are an SME or something like that, just address that. It should be sufficient. Okay. If it's a larger company, we have a lot of governance issues. That's why it goes up to 50. It addresses DPDPA, it addresses ITA 2000, it addresses the BIS standard. I think to that extent it is comprehensive. And if you adopt this data classification, create data buckets, then you can also say that this will help you in multiple jurisdictional implementations. So we have tried to do this because we want to have the principle, one company, one compliance. Okay, you should get yourself certified under DGPSI. It should give you a reasonable assurance that you are going on the right track. It doesn't mean that it will be equivalent to ISO certification. If your client asks for ISO certification, you have no, but you can always try to convince your client. If you are asking for ISO confirmation, why are you asking? You tell me what are your concerns. Now I will tell you these concerns are addressed here. So don't expect that only that kind of certification is required. So we are saying one certification should be sufficient for most of the requirements. It will simplify the compliance work. Otherwise, as people say, every day some audit is going on in my company. Okay, I can't do my work. Okay, we want to reduce that. I don't know whether one organization like FDPPA can do that, but we are putting this thought. Okay. And we hope that companies will support us by adopting this process and justifying it with their clients. If you come back and say, my client has put in his requirement ISO 27701. Now, many companies don't have GDPR data. They are doing some data collection in India. Why do you want 27701? But many companies are not willing to discuss this with the client and convince him, no, this is... If you many people, I have told them, you want 27701, I will give you one-line compliance report. 27701 is not applicable. So you are compliant. Okay. What is not applicable, you are already compliant. No. So we need to actually think about this, and we think that this thought is being generated out of this. I request all the specialists in ISO and others to look at this. You are already a lead auditor in ISO 27001. Also become a lead auditor for DGPSI. We will give a very quick movement of 1 day's training. And this book, what I have said, I have tried to incorporate the requirements of 2 of our modules. Module I, which is on Indian law, and Module A, which is on the audit requirements. GDPR is another thing which we are covering in our this thing, GDPR, CPRA and other things. I have not included that here. Maybe at some point of time we already have a separate material for that. So this book covers the requirement of part of the requirement of the particular act, so that ISO auditors who are already aware of various things, after that one day this thing, they can take the examination. Of course, our control is only through examination. There is an examination. If you can pass the examination, even if you don't take any training with us, we are happy. But pass the examination. If you don't pass the examination, I can't help it. Okay? So we are trying to say, ISO auditors, please transform yourself. There is a new profession called data auditors, which is coming up. Nowhere in the world that data auditor thing is there. I think you will. Okay, data auditor is a person who will do compliance audit as far as this act is concerned. So whatever we have listed as 36 or 50 are the things which he has to look at. So we are creating a new career for even existing ISO auditors and maybe new people. There is a techno-legal requirement, so partly you should know law, partly you should know technology. We have tried to do that here. If you have got any questions, we'll answer. Otherwise, we are running late. We can.
One question, one or two, that's all, no?
Controls are divided into checklist, how to.
Standard as open standard. Okay, we are releasing that. For example, in this book, it's already printed there. Okay, we have distributed it. In our IDPS also, we distributed it. Okay. Now, implementation requires certain templates to be done, processes to be done. I feel that it is more process specific, company specific. I cannot give one template with the top 4 titles and say this is a template, you can use it. You cannot use it. So that we have not done here. We leave it to the consultant to develop. Okay. No, we are trying to reduce the standards. Please tell me, look at my concern. I can, for example, we have introduced web DTS. I can make that as DGPSI 101 or something like that. Then another thing, email security, we can do. But I don't think we should create multiple standards. It will make it more difficult. Okay. When I say data has to be secured, whether the data is in my server or in the cloud, data security is one model implementation specification should apply for both. Your company has no cloud security, so you will look at only in-premise security. His company has got cloud, he will look at both. Why should I say one standard for cloud, one standard for this? Ultimately, everything is need-to-know basis. Don't let anybody who does not have a need to know, access this thing, give access to them. For that, if you use password, for that you use digital signature, for that you use whatever tools you do it. That is how we have approached. Detailing will come at implementation stage. Even though many people are asking me, why don't you create a toolkit? Okay. Even Ramesh wants a toolkit to be developed. We can develop a toolkit for one single company. That is, if I am auditing one X company, for X company I can do that and then redact all the names and then say this is the model toolkit, but that still will be specific to that particular this thing. A digital marketing company toolkit, you cannot use it for a software development company. You understand that? So I feel that instead of a toolkit approach, principle-based understanding, you can develop the toolkit for your company. That's what I want auditors, these accredited auditors to do. We don't want accredited auditors to be checklist kind of a thing. At least understand that one sentence and try to interpret it in that particular situation. That is our approach. That is where we stand today. But it is not difficult to develop a toolkit because if I am auditing, I need a toolkit, so I would have prepared it. Same thing, I can release it, but it will be very specific to a particular context. Yeah.
Any other question? Are we good?
How do we get audited? Okay. So in FDPPA, what we have done is we have created supporting members. For example, Subraidu's company or ClickStart, they are all originally ISO SOC 2 auditors with their own reputation. We actually have converted them to also do audit under DGPSI. So whenever an audit requirement is there, a consortium of our people will bid for that and their people will do the audit based on this particular framework. Wherever necessary, I may be involved also. Otherwise, they may do it on their own. The audit will go through the same process of doing a gap analysis, and then you will implement it and we will review it. Okay. The framework is this one. And we are today ready with at least one or two of these people. We have actually created more than 20 C.DPO.DA auditors. Okay, that is the certification program. They are supposed to use at least one certified person in their audit team. Otherwise, they are business people. Okay, if I have got a certification, I cannot do business. I am not capable of doing business. If somebody gets the business, I can execute it. So, lead auditors are there, plus audit with the credentials are also there. Supporting, we have got 23 members. Out of the 23 members, some of them have come to the DGPSI framework. They will be doing the audit. Okay.
Okay.
It is at the organization level they will do that using a certified DPO, and we have a system which we are not going to explain here, that their DTS will also be reported to FDPPI, and we will have a record of what went on, kind of a thing, okay, at the back end. In the unlikely event of a client not being completely happy with the audit, we have a system of doing a re-audit also. So because our audit will not be completed without a feedback from the client. Client feedback is also part of our certification process. So
All done?
Other details in a different forum we can do that, yeah.
Okay, so a lot of organizations have implemented endpoint security tools, which are nothing but data security tools to monitor and control all the how our employees are sharing out the data, particularly organizational data. To what extent this is ethical when we are controlling each and every activity of an employee? Second part of the question is there a law which is going to come for the protection of employee from a perspective where an employer is controlling each and every data and it is actually monitoring each and every aspect? To what extent it will just protect the privacy and its violation of privacy? Yeah.
See, an organization has got multiple objectives, okay? Today you are an employee. Assume that you are the startup promoter, okay? You have to change your perspective, no? Okay. So what Indian law has done is, what is right to privacy? Right to privacy is protecting your choice of how your personal data can be collected and used. That is why consent is the mandatory requirement here, okay? And that consent has to be not a misleading consent, it has to be a informed consent. So language thing is there, consent manager. Why consent manager is there? Because he can explain to you, okay? You can have a consent manager. Tomorrow I don't know whether there can be a specialized consent manager who knows about HR policies of all the companies. I specialize in, let us say, as a consent manager for HR. Okay, like it becomes a sectoral this thing. So the law says that you should have a notice, 22 languages, use a consent manager. Try to make it as easy as possible for the data principal to understand what is happening in the processing. After that, if you have given the consent, then that is what we can do. In fact, we say that even data monetization is not an untouchable thing for us. See, if you say that no company can make money out of personal data, then there will be no companies at all. There will be no jobs at all. Google will close down, Meta will close down, everybody will close down because there is a monetization. The question is whether monetization is being done surreptitiously without telling me, without perhaps giving me a fair share of that reward. Okay, you are giving me some service. That service is worth 5 rupees, but you are taking 100 rupees data from me. That is not perhaps acceptable. Maybe 5%, maybe even okay. But there should be that relationship. Okay, you cannot give me 1 paisa and take 100 rupee data. So this has to happen in a consent format. If it happens, I feel that the industry should be accommodated into a data monetization situation also. This is my personal principle. So don't simply say that, as an employee, I don't want. See, you are, as an employee, company is going to share with you so much of confidential information about the company. Their future business details are shared with you. Their IP is with you. Now, in return, if they expect that you should have an ethical way of working, I would like to know whether you are moonlighting with some other company or you are perhaps an agent of another company. I want to do surveillance. Okay, it all boils down to that. I think we have to be reasonable. Even if I am the employee, I will say the same thing. Okay, today I have passed the age of being an employee, but otherwise I would say that it is reasonable. Okay, you are paying me salary, I will ask more salary if I want, that is fine. Okay, but I will not be able to say you don't have a right to monitor me. No, consent
just,
has to be taken.
Yeah.
Purpose-oriented declaration has to be done. That is something which needs to be accommodated.
I think that's a
Thank
part
you.
of the terms and condition you sign in a company when you are coming in, ma'am. Whenever you are joining a company, you sign that terms and condition. That's where you are writing saying, I am actually hereby consenting that my activities can be monitored. I am ready to be posted anywhere internationally. I am ready to be, it's there in the part of the offer. We never read it, yes? Yes, it's part of the contract. You have signed it. So you can't now say that I haven't been given a consent. Why are they monitoring? They have a 100% right to monitor you. All the time.
See,
And
we are
record you.
conducting awareness programs as in-house company trainings also. So if it's required, we are willing to look at that. We are actually trying to reach out to at least 1,000 CIOs in the next 3-4 months across India and conduct one-day training program. We have already started with Pune. We are going to Bombay and Ahmedabad. That is done through a CIO club. So like that, if somebody takes the responsibility, if all the startups in Bangalore want us to come and have a 3-hour session in each of them, both of us will be ready to come. Tomorrow if you want, okay.
Just to help you here, there were questions that what is FDPPI is all about in the afternoon and yesterday, right? Please visit our website, fdppi.in, number 1. Number 2, we are the privacy guardians. That's what I would claim under his leadership. There are lots and lots of people. It's a voluntary organization, right? And feel free to join us in our privacy journey. You all will be the stakeholders. You read his constitution. It says by us, for us, right? Same. Please look at that. And we do conduct lots of training programs to help you, whether it's a data protection officer training or whether it is an auditor training, what you're talking about. And all are conducted by stalwarts, led by Mr. Navi. And what he talked about, that examination certification, right? He's openly telling you don't have to attend the training. If you are confident, come and pass the exam. I will give this as a challenge to you guys. Passing his exam is not easy. I had gone through, in my 35 years of experience, PMP2, CSM2, etc., right? But his exam, oh, Babre, you have to really work double the effort, however intelligent you are. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to set the standard what he has said. That's what I'm trying to explain. Feel free. Join us in our journey. fdppi.in. All the coordinates are available. Mr. Navi's. We have every week Wednesday Jnanavardhini seminar. Free seminar. No compulsions, etc. Absolutely join. And it's going to be conducted by stalwarts again from the industry, ranging from cyber security to privacy to business continuity to whatnot. And Madam talked about, very quickly, last bullet from my side, Smita Chandrasekhar, right? She said, I don't know how many of you followed her, the last bullet of hers. There need to be a liaison between a technical folks and law folks. Be with me, it's happening at FDPPI. This is the forum where, let's say, out of 10 people, 5 would be lawyers, 5 would be, technical people, 5 would be kind of, privacy, right, etc. I have a tough time with him. He says, what your ISO is, what you guys are, you're all binary, yes or no, we are all lawyers, what doctor talked about, professor. I was trying to say, oh, you have a counterpart there, really. Working with, convincing him is not easy, believe me, because he comes with his own thought process. So we have a good discussion. And I request each one of you to hear. I'm not trying to sell anything over here. Please be participant.
This
here.
is the management team. 3
Exactly.
directors of FDPPI. We have Bangalore chapter person.
Come sir, please come.
He is president Bangalore chapter. Like that we have got other chapters. So it's a commitment, like what Modi says, it's Navi guarantee.
Absolutely. You can trust him.
No,
You can trust him.
one of the things which I have done is whenever we have conducted a certification program, people have asked, law is not there, why are you conducting a certification program? We have given a guarantee that when the change comes, we will give you a free session for bridging that gap. So that way we started doing this certification from 2020, when the first 2019 version was there. Every time we have bridged their gaps. Even today when we are conducting, tomorrow if the rules come, we are going to give a free training on the rules, at least one training. So that is how we are trying to keep the professional force to start early. Say, don't wait until all the rules come, I will take one certification program, which means that you will be 6 months behind everybody else. Okay, so that is our approach in
And
certification
here
program.
the FDPPA folks, all of them are individually working somewhere or they are entrepreneurs. None of us are working for any kind of commercial aspects here. It's a voluntary basis. Now we can imagine, I'm standing here. What for? Because of the guarantee or the trust of Mr. Navi. I call Mr. Navi as, not as a kind of Mr. Navi, as a human being, brand per se. You will really appreciate my statement once when you start working with him. I would request again, please come forward, work with us. We will build a strong privacy culture, privacy awareness movement within the country. Thank you very much. Have a
you.
nice evening.
On the stage for felicitating our speakers. Dr. Navi. Sorry, Mr. Navi.
Madam, come. Sir, you are the host. Sir, please come. Come, sir, come.
So all of you here? Yes. One more. Thank you.
Ramesh, sir. One more for Ramesh.
It's a different one, Ramesh.
I know.
Name is different. So what is it?
Yesterday, actually, that was for I didn't have for mine, so I asked for the issue.
Oh, okay.
And then all three go to the.
Strange, sir. For you, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Appreciate all the knowledge, insights. Now, we have 3 gifts, right? Last 3 gifts to be won. Let's see who are those champions. Who will take them home? I can see everybody. I hope I can see everybody. Abhi se nahi hand, not now. You need to wait. Let the question come. Question 1 here. See, I am short-sighted or long-sighted, whatever. Okay, I've seen already a hand there. Huh? Sir.
Streamline and simplify the compliance process for organization. It is the main thing sir said, so I felt this is the right answer. Bhavana.
Actually, B, C, D are all actually best answers. A, by providing user-friendly tools and guidance for compliance. This is one of the nuances that Sarah talked about.
Are you good? Answer is right? Huh? Oh. Excellent. Okay, one more. So which means you need to stand up, not just hands on. Huh? And you need to give a complete answer. Otherwise, whoever gives the best answer and everybody votes will get. Okay. What is the recent policy and compliance law which came in US?
It's a California privacy law. CCPA was there already, which they have evolved with a cookie consent and additional controls on non-disclosure and additional things. That's the new emerging law, and they had additional controls on top of GDPR, what we have. Prepared answer.
As we come to the end of this
insightful and very inspiring conference today. I am grateful for everyone's support to celebrate Data Privacy Day with us. On behalf of the event host, CSA Bangalore, FTPPI, NXP Semiconductors, BSpin, and Manipal Law School, I would like to thank everyone who contributed to the success of this event. First and foremost, I would like to express my profound appreciation to our eminent speakers who graced us with their presence and shared their valuable expertise. Your thought-provoking discussions and insights into the world of data privacy have not only enlightened us, but also contributed to the much-needed attention to privacy and data protection. Also, very special thanks to the speaker who joined from Netherlands. A special thanks to our panelists who, through their dynamic and engaging discussions, provided us with a deeper understanding of the challenges and opportunities that lie in the area of data privacy. To our esteemed guests and attendees today, industry leaders, data privacy experts, security professionals, consultants, and academicians, your participation has immensely contributed to the diversity and richness of this conference. Your willingness to learn and engage in meaningful discussions is what drives change and fosters a culture of data privacy. Lastly, I would also like to extend my gratitude to our event sponsors and everyone involved in organizing this event today. Without your generous support and collaboration, this event would not have been possible. Thanks to NXP Bangalore site management, facilities, especially some of you approached me and gave your feedback about the lunch. Yeah? Even when I entered here, so Navi sir and Nagendra knows. Normally I say, Annadata Sukhino Bhavantu. Today I say, Ranganatha Sukhino Bhavantu, because Ranganath is one of our facility manager. Yeah? So I thank Mr. Ranganath, especially from the facilities team, security teams, and IT teams for the excellent arrangements that made this a successful event. And thank you once again for making this conference a memorable and impactful event. Good evening, everybody. Until we meet next time in another conference or meeting, this is Shankar signing off. Goodbye.